All right, you're probably catching the hang of how these adult life patterns work now. We've gone through 4 of them that had to do with the father relating to a son and father relating to a daughter. Now we're going to look at the 4 that relate to a mother and her son and a mother and her daughter. So let's look at these 2 that have to do with a mother and a son. And again, when the mother hasn't blessed her son, hasn't imparted to him, and instead has rejected him, he has 2 choices. He can reject her love, reject her, and say, I don't need her, I don't care if she blesses me. Or the second response is he can clamor after her love, and again, that will set him up for totally different response in adult life and totally different response in marriage. So let's look at what this one looks like. This man who has rejected his mother's love and blessing, I don't care if she doesn't bless me, I don't care if she doesn't love me, if she doesn't accept me, doesn't matter. So he's predisposed not to receive love from a woman. So of course when he gets married, that's going to be a major problem because he views his wife through the image of his mother. And he expects to be rejected and not approved of by women. His identity is most likely to be established again in self. So when people cut off their parent, they establish identity in self. He becomes independent, isolates himself, especially from women. I don't need them. It doesn't matter. He will use them, but not really engage with them. So he'll put his identity in his own masculinity, maybe in his own physique, his sexuality, or in things he can do to prove himself to really be a man. In his career, he may be a workaholic and striving again to disprove the cursing that came from his mother. Money, he can tend to be stingy, have a fear of lack, need to accumulate again, put a focus on money, focus on power and status. He'll be shallow and manipulative in those relationships, doesn't build deep relationships, is much more project-oriented than he is people-oriented. In ministry, he again can be a ministry superstar because he's got gifts and skills. He may be articulate. He may be able to accomplish all kinds of things, but he puts a shell around himself that he doesn't let anybody in. Or he can put his identity in any role in which he really feels he can excel. Some of the potential results are he's obviously going to have a lot of conflict with female authorities. So if he ends up in the workforce working for a woman, he's going to be resentful about that. It's like, who is she to tell me what to do? And the reason is he will view a female boss through the image of his mother who rejected him, who wounded him, who made him feel worthless. And he'll project that onto a female boss and have a lot of conflict with female authorities. He'll usually try to work himself out of a situation where he doesn't ever have a woman boss. He doesn't need or trust other people, especially women. He's insensitive to the needs of others and sometimes has very little awareness of his own emotions. So what's really happened with this man, he sort of has rejected the feminine side of his own personality. So he rejected all the qualities that people should know about. I'm just thinking of one man I knew, a brilliant lawyer, graduated first or second in his law class from Harvard Law School, and was a brilliant attorney. And doing very well financially, very wealthy. But it was funny, he had very little awareness of his own physical appearance, for example. Every time I saw him after lunch, like he wore a beard. He'd have food still in his beard that he didn't really realize, and lettuce in his teeth that he didn't know. And he would always have, part of his shirt untucked and hanging out. And I went on a business trip with him once or twice, this particular man, and he had no ability to color coordinate his clothes at all. It's like he'd wear, striped shirt with plaid pants or whatever, you know what I mean, just crazy stuff. And so what had happened is his wife had recognized that. She would pack his clothes and actually put a list in his suitcase. On this day you wear this shirt, this tie, this coat, these pants. She had to put the list, otherwise this guy would look like a clown, literally. So these people sometimes are like an absent-minded professor type of person. They're just not really aware of what's going on. And it's because they've rejected the feminine part of their own personality that reminds them of their mom because of the wounding and rejection that came from mother. this man can also reproduce in his own life the very qualities that he hated in his mother, or he could reproduce in his wife the very qualities that he hated in his mother. Let me give you an example of how bitterness works. I've seen this happen. Suppose there's a man growing up with a mother that's very overweight, very obese, and in his heart he judges her and he says, I'll never marry a woman like her. Suppose over here is a young woman growing up who has a very highly critical father who criticizes her and rejects her and never lets her succeed at anything. Well, she makes a judgment in her heart against him. I reject my dad. I'll never marry a man like him. Now these two meet each other and marry. They fall in love. Now who does she marry? A man that's not rejecting her, and a man that's not critical. And this man that she marries is like that. And who does he marry? One who has a beautiful figure, who's not at all overweight and reminds him of his mom. They marry each other. Now, she's a wonderful cook. She begins cooking him food that is wonderful, and he thinks, man, this girl is beautiful. But not only is she beautiful, she's a great cook. But the problem is the food she's cooking to bless her husband is a little too rich for her. And so she gains a few pounds. He notices that, and because he's viewing his wife through the bitterness still in his heart toward his mother, because he's never forgiven her, never disconnected from her, viewing his wife through the image of his mother, the few pounds that she gains sets off alarm bells and red flags and warning horns. Uh-oh, she's starting down the road of becoming like my mother. So he tries the subtle approach. He says to her, honey, you know, I just noticed in the newspaper or online that a new health club has opened up near us. Why don't we join that health club and go and get some exercise? Now, how does she hear that? Because she's got bitterness in her heart toward her dad, never forgiven him for rejecting her, criticizing her. She hears that as criticism because she's viewing her husband through the image of her dad, and now red flags and warning horns and bells and whistles are going off in her mind. Uh-oh, he's starting to criticize me. He's becoming just like my dad. She doesn't say anything, but it creates some stress and some pressure in her life. Now, what do women do sometimes when they've got extra stress and pressure? Yeah, you're right. Eat between meals. That's what she does to eat comfort food to relieve the stress. And guess what? She gains a few more pounds. Now the alarm bells are really going off in him. She is headed toward the road that my mother went down. And so because he still has that bitterness in her heart, he thinks, okay, the subtle approach didn't work. Let me just be direct with her. So he says to her, hey, listen, I noticed that you've gained a few pounds recently and your figure is really important to me. Let's join the health club. Let's get some exercise. Let's change our diet some. How does she hear that? She hears that through the image of her father's criticism. And that really sets off alarm bells in her. And she says, look, just leave me alone. Do you think I'm blind? Of course I know I've gained a few pounds. I'm working on it. Okay, just leave me alone. Don't criticize me. And he says, look, I'm not criticizing you. I'm just telling you we need to do something about this because you're not. She said, I am. Just leave me alone. Let me work on this, okay? And he goes, yeah, but if you're not doing anything about it. You haven't joined the health club. We're not changing. She said, I'm working on it. Just leave me alone. Stop criticizing me. And he says, look, if you don't change this, if you don't do something different, you're going to end up looking just like my mother. And she says, well, if you keep criticizing me and calling things out in me and all this, you're going to end up just like my father. And if somebody doesn't intercept this couple and share with them what's going on, they have set up a pattern, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 15, that says, when you allow a root of bitterness in your heart, you will defile many. And now this woman is defiling her husband with the bitterness in her heart toward her dad. This man is defiling his wife with the bitterness in his heart toward his mother. And if somebody doesn't help this couple, we're going to end up in a couple years with a very obese wife and a very critical husband, and they are going to produce an image of what they hated in their parent in the very person that they loved and married. So he will produce a fat wife. She will produce a critical husband because they're carrying the seed of bitterness on the inside, which will manifest in a reproduction of the very qualities you hated in a parent. That's why forgiveness is so key. I mean, you can't afford to let bitterness get in your heart and let unforgiveness reside there, because you reproduce those qualities in the future in your own life or in your marriage partner. So that's a critical thing, that he can reproduce in his wife or in himself the very qualities that he hated in his mother. And this man, again, just finishing these characteristics, is sometimes hard and harsh in relationships. A potential door to homosexuality, I haven't seen it very often, but the way that it works is if he's been so wounded by his mom and he's reproduced that pattern in relationships with women and been rejected and wounded by women again, he just turns from them and says, I need love, I need acceptance and value, but not from a woman. And he begins to look toward men in that way. Okay, relationship in marriage is off. He is insensitive or totally oblivious to his wife. This man I was talking about, he would walk into a room, say a party in the evening or something like that, or a social event. His wife would be walking a couple paces behind him. He'd go around and greet everybody. He was gregarious and outgoing and wouldn't introduce his wife to one person. And, I can relate to some of this. I've done this to my wife, Jan, at times. And in the beginning of our marriage, it really wounded her and hurt her. She sort of laughs about it now because she's got a lot of her own confidence and security. And so she'll just say, hey, you've got a wife. I'm here. Would you mind introducing me to people you're talking with? And so she'll just call me on it now, and it's just been an area that I've struggled with even in my own life. So this man can be sexually unresponsive or rarely romantic. Romance is not something he normally thinks about. It's like something he's got to intentionally plan because it's not natural. He can become overtly angry, struggle with anger or physical abuse because he's stored up a lot of anger because of the rejection and wounding from his mom. And he can unwittingly push his wife into the role of being his mother or his servant and doing all the things that he wants, not really relating to her as an equal or as a wife. And so the wife can feel rejected, mistreated, abused, frustrated, manipulated, or more like his mother than his wife. So that comes from the wounding of not being blessed by a mother. Let's look at the second pattern that can develop in a man when his mother hasn't blessed him. He strives after his mother's blessing. And so he's pursuing that blessing, wanting her to bless him. He's predisposed to strive after and love and acceptance from a woman. Now, this man sort of has a black hole in his heart where he's saying, look, I need love and acceptance from you, but if I don't get it from you, I'll look to you as my God. I need you to give to me. Remember, we had another one earlier where a wife does that to a husband. This is where a husband does that to a wife. So he's predisposed to strive after love and acceptance from a woman. He'll do whatever is needed to be accepted and approved. So he'll pursue wanting affirmation and blessing from a woman boss, from other women that are friends and friendships, from other people, but especially from his wife. So he cares very deeply what people think of him, and his identity is established in others, not in self. So his identity is established in what his wife thinks about him, his children, his hero, his boss, other women. It's very important to him. Some of the potential results, he can again be sensitive and caring, maybe highly self-critical. So this man criticizes himself. There can be a striving to be accepted by women, may have a strong focus on physical appearance because he wants women to like him. His relationship in marriage, he clamors after his wife's love and attention. He's the one that has a black hole, emotionally can smother his wife. You know where I usually meet these men is at a marriage conference just after the wife left. And these husbands say things like this to me, I did everything that I was told to do. I brought her flowers. I loved her. I poured out life upon her. I made her, I gave her lots of attention, lots of love. And what he didn't realize is He's smothering her. He's overwhelming with his attention because he's craving her love to such a degree. And I've talked to some of the wives of men that have this going on. It's like, I need him to back off. I mean, I need some space too. I can't be the one who meets all his needs, because what this man has done is made his wife his God. And again, only God can fill that up. Obviously, if his wife is his God, he can be possessive and jealous. If it looks like she's spending time with any other man, and not even in a wrong way, he gets jealous and angry. And he can force his wife into the role of his mother also, but for a totally different reason, not like the other one who just wants his wife to serve him and do everything for him. This one pushes her into the nurture. He manifests the nurture need. I need a mommy to nurture me and to love me and to hold me and to be there for me. So he is the one who on a wedding day has accumulated all these bills from his mother that were emotionally unpaid bills, and he presents them to his wife. To his wife, please pay what my mother did not give me all the years growing up. And what happens to the wife, no matter how hard she tries to love him, it's never enough. So she tries to bless him, tries to love him, tries to be there sexually for him, to be emotionally available to him, and yet he just sucks all the life out of her, and she gets tired and drained. So she feels smothered, frustrated, drained, inadequate, unable to ever really please him no matter how much she gives. And needless to say, that's going to wreak havoc in a marriage. And so these again are two additional ways that the enemy can use a lack of blessing to wreak a lot of havoc in a marriage. Again, I just say it over and over and over again. The solution to all of this is impartation of blessing from God, to receive. Let God be God, receive His love and His blessing, so that I can become a giver to my marriage partner instead of isolating, shutting my partner out, or looking to my partner to be God to me and to provide all the things that a dad or a mom didn't provide. So it's a matter of, God, would you do for me what a parent didn't do, so my heart can get open to you, so I can receive what I need from you, establish security in my heart so I can bless my wife, so I can bless my husband. That's the key. And again, as a father or mother, especially with adult sons or daughters, we want to impart blessing to them so that they become secure in their own identity, grow up in a culture of blessing so that they're free to give and to bless and to love a wife or a husband when they marry. So let me just pray as we conclude this session. Father, I thank you again for exposing the ways our flesh works. And Lord, how we might be unconsciously operating in one of these patterns that's destructive and self-destructive, self-sabotaging to our own career, to our own walk with you, God, to our own marriage. And Father, I pray that you would expose that and expose that in our children, that we might allow you to minister to it and set us free, to empower us to fulfill destiny. And God, as dads and moms, give us wisdom how to empower our children to be secure in their own identity and destiny, not look to a spouse as God, not isolate or shut a spouse out because of wounding. But God, would you make us ones who know how to bless our sons and daughters, to release them into freedom to bless a husband or wife when they marry. In the name of Jesus, amen.